Hello, this is a weekly review of an artist whose work incredibly inspires me, and I would like to share their work with you. So today we are going to take a look at the work of Diana Markosian, an artist who was born in 1989 in Moscow, and at the age of 7 her family moved to the United States, so she went to school and grew up there. Even though she's quite young, she's already very accomplished, and by the time she was in her mid-20s, her work was already published at such renowned newspapers and magazines as New York Times, Wall Street Journal, The Guardian, and many more. And her work has also been exhibited around the world, and her personal project received a numerous amount of highly regarded awards. So she's a very inspiring young artist and young photojournalist, photographer, even though not in the beginning of her career, a long time ago. So she's already very established and very developed. So I hope you enjoy this video. The first project that I'm going to show you is called Inventing My Father. She shot it when she was in her early 20s in 2013-2014, and it is really important here to read captions and the story behind the project, but I will try and quickly tell it to you. So she was she was only 7 when her mom decided that she wanted to move to the United States with her 2 children, so Diana and her brother. And so she took them without telling them or their father about her decision. So basically she made Diana's father disappear from their life. And so she married another man in the United States, and Diana only had some vague memories of her father and some of the pictures that were left. But even though those pictures even had a father's figure cut out, so she couldn't even, quite remember his face until she went back when she was already a young grown-up, and she decided to do the project to explore the relationship or the lack of the relationship with her father. And I think this project is deeply touching, deeply emotional, and deeply personal. And she photographed his apartment where he lived, the view from his window, his father, her grandfather, and also the things, the artifacts that belong to him, the memories of the relationship with her mom, newspaper clippings that he was collecting as he was searching for his children and his wife, newspaper articles and letters that were returned as he was trying to send letters to addresses that he thought would find his wife and his children. So it's a very, very sad and touching story, but also the photographs that she did, they are incredibly beautiful. They're so personal and so artistic that you can't help but really, connect and really relate to the story, even though maybe, you haven't experienced anything as tragic as this, but still we all had, the things that happened to us in our childhood, and something that we go back to in our memories, although she physically went back to her, her childhood, sort of how it was in her head, and found something else and tried to establish and bring those relationships back and see what she could do to get to know her own father. So this is a really important project for her as a photographer, and sharing her personal story and going through this personal exploration of her own feelings. And when she talks about her work, she says it's always a feeling, and she likes to push herself to do things that she's never done before, and I think it's very admirable. And she also said that her work is very reflective and looking inwards, learning to be quiet with herself. And later on, she photographed this other project that is somewhat related to the story I just shared with you. It's called Santa Barbara, which is a town in California. And this was also a soap opera quite famous in Russia and probably in the United States as well, but it was especially famous in post-Soviet Russia. So this is the town where her family moved, and she also shares kind of the same story as she does when she talks about the project with her father, but now she really recreated, she staged her memories of that year, what happened when her mom took her and her brother away from Moscow, away from her father, and how that whole relocation happened, a new life started. So she recreated it, and she staged the scenes with actors, and she made it look as if it was as a real event and a documentary project, which I find really interesting. So that's the first shot of them, I think, still being at home before their mom woke them up and said they needed to move. And this is something she already photographed in California. This is the boy, I guess, representing her brother. And these are such beautiful, artistically shot images that look like documentary photos, but they're still, very emotional, very believable, and it's even hard to believe that they're staged. And she photographed, and she also did a film that's been featured already in some galleries and festivals. So I encourage you to explore that, to take a look at the page, and also check out her other projects. As a serious photojournalist, she keeps working on long-term projects. For example, this one was about Turkish immigrants that she did in 2018. Also very interesting, beautiful and touching images. And another project that I think maybe is even more personal to her is about Armenians, and Armenian genocide happened in Turkey that is still not officially recognized by the Turkish authorities in the Ottoman Empire. So people were either killed or forced to move out in 1915, and she found some of the refugees, people who survived and who are now over 100 years, and she photographed them in their new homes, and she also shared pictures of that area where they used to live in Turkey. And it was really incredible emotional moments for them to see, to see a place that they weren't able to see for 100 years or more. And so this is a really personal and beautiful story as well. So definitely encourage you to check out her other projects. Everything is very thoughtful, very touching, very moving, and it is really incredible to see such deep exploration of such serious topics by a young photographer. And I also encourage you to read about her and her projects. And what I think really touched me is when she said that her work became her life. And she had to deal with it, because she had to encounter so many emotional moments and so many tragic and disturbing subjects and lives of people who were destroyed or damaged, and she had to learn to cope with that and control her emotions. And she says that photography allowed her to control her own vulnerability, and I thought it was a very interesting thought and a very interesting observation. And so her work is really significant to herself and to others who look at it. So I hope it was really inspiring, and I do encourage you to explore more and learn more about Diana Markosian. You can find all the links down below in the description of the video. If you found it interesting, please like and subscribe, and please also support me on my Patreon page. Thank you.